the difference between dreaming and being awake is just that at night, consciously, you stop doing anything else. I have to be awake and go around and be a properly dressed person every day, but actually only just enough to sort of eat and make a few friends. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm dreaming all the time. The only difference is that I come up for daylight and other people the way a whale has to come up for air.
There's absolutely nobody else like him in the whole of music, I think. That way of writing songs and the quality of the music, the content of the lyrics, they're all things that he's really come to himself. You know, there's nothing there that is a sort of a received format from somewhere else. He's built every little bit of this himself. His singing is so vulnerable. It's like some poor innocent cast into this complicated world and just saying.
That's another one goes with that era.
Oh yeah, that's all right. Oh, that's me and my dad and my mum on a bomb site. I'd be about 6. Because London was full of bomb sites and we used to have a picnic and go drawing bomb sites. So we'd all take pencil and paper and sit on a broken wall and draw the innards of a smashed house. My mother was a journalist. Her name was Wyatt, Honor Wyatt, and worked for BBC. Her best idea ever was a thing called How Things Began, which was like dinosaurs and stuff. My father was an industrial psychologist, and his name was George Elledge. My dad joined us when I was about 6. I knew him altogether for about 10 years, but halfway through that he contracted multiple sclerosis and had to leave his job. They had a couple of £1,000 spare. They went and got a derelict old house in a little village called Liddon near Dover in Kent. That's me, and that's my mother, and that's my dad, already in a wheelchair, so that's late 50s.
But were they quite bohemian?
Well, I mean, they were working people. I think, I mean, in East Kent, if you didn't have creases in your trousers, you were probably an anarchist. I mean, you did like what Keith Moon would call a spot of sherry before dinner. My dad, my dad liked a spot of sherry before dinner. I mean, he used to have some lovely records. Benjamin Britten, Peter Pearce, and a French horn player, Dennis Brain, doing arrangements of Scottish songs, and some Debussy stuff. He himself liked playing Ravel and The record player would be that. There was a forerunner of Radio 3 called Third Programme, and he used to listen to that and so on. I went to Snooty, Canterbury, to a school there for 5 or 6 years. I couldn't do school. Dad was very disappointed. But anyway, I tried to learn violin for a bit. I swapped that for a trumpet, which horrified my dad because he said, there aren't any great concertos written for trumpet. And I said, Dad, you know, Miles Davis and Gil Evans, and they're just... I mean, he didn't mind that. He brought me up on jazz. I mean, but it's pre-war jazz, Fat Swallows, Duke Ellington. But he was worried that I took it so seriously. I had 2 big brothers, one from each parent. The oldest one was my mother's son, Julian. It had things like Danny Kaye records. And of course Danny Kaye was doing a lot of Cab Calloway covers, which I didn't know at the time. Minnie the Moocher and stuff like that. So I think that was a big influence. A bit later on, that's trying out the moustache. Looking at a record, what would it have been? Mingus. And my other big brother, Mark Elledge, he's about 5 years older than me, and he had all these records of modern jazz. And I just thought it was the most magical music, and it became, even at my most depressed about the world, I've always thought, well, there's jazz, you know, you can't knock it.
Look down from above, helicopter vision. Get the picture when you're outside the frame. Retrospective, my and we get down out of steaky means nothing to me. Westernize us to you, and we get stoned of time. Words take the place of meaning. Stoned of time. Words take the place of meaning.
Yeah, I was still Thelonious Monk at the Festival Hall and waited round the back with all the other girls for an autograph. And I asked for an autograph, and he looked down. He's very big, I didn't know. And he looked down, smiled, and he patted me on the head, and that was my autograph. And my head sort of went, ooh, tingle, and I didn't wash it for weeks. I probably wouldn't have done anyway, but it had that blessed feeling. Wonderful. So Monk's hand has touched my head, that same hand you hear. For what? Look at, they say I'm not religious. If I had a, it's my high priest, definitely. My sensation at school is of increasing alienation. I was also caned quite a lot. Well, the first time was for smoking behind the bicycle shed when I hadn't been. However, I then started smoking.
When he was 16, he tried to kill himself quite seriously because he had no idea how he was going to fit into the world. This was before he knew he was going to do anything with music, but he just couldn't imagine himself in some slot in the way in the world and how it operates.
At that time, and the only job I could see that was worth doing that grown-ups did was I wanted to be Ray Charles. And it was a slow and painful process, just realising that job was taken. But anyway, I started going off to the continent and hanging about. But I did have in my luggage, apart from a tie, I had a trumpet with a bit of hosepipe attached, and that make it more like a sort of mad instrument. It sounded a bit like an elephant. It was interesting. I really liked playing the mouthpiece, but I just couldn't play trumpet, unfortunately. Otherwise, it would have been really good. That's George Nidorf, my drum teacher, an American, the one who wanted me to play like Philly Joe Jones. And he taught me to hold sticks correctly, left hand resting on that finger, and the right hand held tight here. And you have to, that's where the grip is there, that's where the grip is there. And he used to test us. He used to come up sometimes and go, pull the stick out of my hand. He said, you're not holding it hard enough. So you have to grip very tight there, and then, and he said it's not in the banging down, it's in the lifting up. So you have to get that finger strong, and it has to flop. I've got these very nice sticks made for me by Liam Janocki, wonderful drummer. They've got the ping of sticks and the lightness of brushes, and they're very good. This is a real cowbell. off a real cow. When I play cowbell, I'm not playing some fake ersatz cowbell. I play the bell for a cow. These little cymbals we found in a skip. There was a local primary school in Twickenham was chucking out its school orchestra and buying a new one. Nothing wrong with that. But I want something that's going sometimes while you're playing, just like that, and just hit one of those, and it's just like a little firework, dies down quick, but blends back into the other cymbals as it dies out.
He was always wild. I think he was born wild. He was just an extraordinary, extraordinary person, even at the age of 16, with his trumpet on the end of a bit of string and purple shirts. He was just a one-off. The whole family, extraordinary family. Yes, I mean, when I was 15, we used to go over to Wellington House, Valley and I, where Robert's parents lived, and have all-night parties and open the windows and play jazz, and I just thought I was the coolest chick in the world. To just be there, it was just fantastic.
Robert was from a very lefty, intellectual, kind of on the breadline family. Introduced me to a lot of things that would never have, well, I would have come to them eventually, but you know, I got them very quickly at a young age.
What kind of things?
Music, basically, art, modern art, things like that. And then David Allen arrived from Australia, who was a mad jazz beat guitarist and poet. David was one of these catalysts of the scene, and Robert and I and people like that were ready to receive that kind of evil infants.
David had connections with people who were organising gigs at places like the Roundhouse and so on. He got Mike Horowitz's poetry, jazz things.
First of all, we started Wildflowers, which was mostly rock, but we were doing a few kind of slightly jazzier things. We did a couple of Thelonious Monk tunes and segued them into Ray Charles tunes and things like that. And then Robert decided to leave and join David and Kevin Ayers and Mike Rutledge eventually, which became Soft Machine.
We were told at that time, you can't really make LPs until you've had a pop record, pop single, so we tried to make a couple of singles as well. But the way we were playing on stage was getting further and further away from anything that could be turned into a pop single. I suppose as jazz fans, we were improvising, extending a few songs to longer and longer pieces. I mean, this is the year Coltrane died. Coltrane was very much in our memories, you know, much more than Donovan or whoever it was in the charts at that particular day. There's nothing wrong with Donovan. But so we started being invited to play in places where you didn't have to play tunes that people recognised, and one of these was UFO. And the great thing about UFO was that I think the audience was so stoned and they lay around on the floor that they really had no idea what you were playing. They couldn't have sung along with any tune if they knew it anyway. So you could really do anything you liked. And Mark Boyle was doing wonderful light shows and turned it into a kind of magic space. We just played what we knew in a kind of blind panic, you know, do something for the next 45 minutes. So we just held our noses and jumped in the deep end. Anyway, we went on tour with Hendrix throughout 1968 in America.
They were experimenting, you know, that sort of stuff. It was different, completely different, compared to the experience.
Whitehead is a nightclub with glasses and wine. The customers dancing or just making time. While David is cursing, the customers scream. Now everyone's shouting, "Get out of my
was it like touring with Hendrix?
Wonderful. Absolutely fucking wonderful. He was never ever boring, the band was never boring. He wasn't a jazz fan, but he had the heart of taking risks all the time.
They were very supportive to Soft Machine, actually. The whole of Hendrix band were always made a point of not just being the support band, you know, they would always help.
We'd play like LA, Dallas, Toronto, New York, New Orleans, Arizona, Seattle, with no sleep at all. But we were all taking amphetamines.
It's certainly true. He was actually anti-alcohol. I remember that's absolutely true. Until the time he went to the States, he actually didn't think alcohol was a good thing at all. And then he kind of got into the lads on the road syndrome.
The secret is to get incredibly drunk, I find, if you're going on stage. And then you have no fear, and you're very brave. And all those characteristics which make you a pain in the bum at parties are very useful if you're on stage.
He wasn't like a Keith Moon or anything like that, nothing at all like that, because he still had that kind of very, very civilised intelligence. So he wasn't that wild, you know, he was sort of still a civilised person, but really. I think, you know, he was kind of ambushed by alcohol, really.
Keith Moon taught me this is a lethal thing, which is probably why I'm in a wheelchair now, which is, he used to taught me this thing of alternating tequila with Southern Comfort. So he said, nice slug of Southern Comfort. But it's a bit sticky, you know what I mean? A bit like honey. So, yeah, so you get tequila, and he did the whole business with the lemon and the salt on the wrist. And he said, but then you've had that. And he said, you really need some more Southern Comfort just to sort of mellow that down a bit. I'd be sitting there and so, oh, right. And he'd have his arm around your shoulder. You couldn't not have it, one, you know. He liked to drink. He liked to drink with somebody. Never got on. We didn't get on very well with each other. I was the only lout in the group, really. And I think they found my loutishness tiresome. I don't know. Probably too polite to say so if you asked them. But you did see their eyes raised to heaven sometimes. They'd go to each other.
Because we were sort of middle-class white chappies from England, we sort of didn't hit each other, which probably would have got it over with much quicker, you know. We just sat there and sort of, Mike and I did our crosswords in the corner, and Robert would go and get pissed and then be very apologetic afterwards. I just got a phone call one day around 1970, I don't remember when, informing me that I was no longer the drummer of the band, and so I had to think, oh, what am I going to do next? So I still thought in terms of you have to have a band. I thought it was a sort of law that you had to be in a band. And so I found some other musicians and did Southern Comfort and tequila. And then I think Kevin got out some whiskey. Gone.
another one closes. Or no, I haven't got the expression right there. I really was too drunk to know. I certainly wouldn't have the courage to climb out of a fourth floor window sober. Doctor comes round when you come round, and he stood at the end of the bed and said, "Now then, you probably don't know why you're here. You're here because you're paraplegic, you're paralysed below the waist, and you won't be able to walk again." He said, "It'll probably knock 10 years off the end of life, 20 if you smoke," and he went on to the next bed. So there was no confusion there, no slow awakening. I was on such heavy drugs for 6 weeks. The next 6 weeks I don't remember anything about at all. Was there for a year, and then just carried on working on the tunes I'd been working on before. Well, it was an opportunity. I didn't know. I really had this dilemma about being a drummer, which is basically a social act. You have to be in a group. I really wanted to do notes, actual notes, and I'd always sung songs. So really, not being able to play drums anymore, not being able to be in a group anymore, absolutely liberated me from the dilemma. There was only one thing I could now possibly do. That's what I've done ever since. It's simplified. And simultaneously, see, I married Alfie, and that was, so to the extent that I need to be in a group and share ideas and pool resources, I had Alfie. Alfie joined in with me. Alfie joined in with me in every way you can imagine. Doing typography for LPs, doing the sleeve notes, doing the paintings for them, because she knew the songs. With Alfie, the cover was part of the record.
Yes, it's actually called Romance, and people who would criticise our relationship might say that illustrates it rather well. Me being Big Mummy, but these are the other ways of being a wife that I could be, and I'm not. I hope I'm not either, which is driving him to Top of the Pops and being a dog. So I think I'd rather be that wife, if I have to be any kind of wife.
I'm not your dinner, you soppy old custard. And what's a baloney when it's a bully? I'm not your larder, I'm your dear big doodolly. But when plops get too heavy, I'll fill up your belly. I'm not your larder, and Alfie your garder.
A lot of the songs are about Alfie, about their relationship. Absolutely inseparable, and I think Robert and Alfie are like a team. You know, they are a team, a band. You know, they are obviously a couple, but it's much, much more than that. It's an artistic. It's almost, she's like a muse as well. And I think when she provides the lyrics to some of the songs, that's more obvious way of saying what her contribution is.
Woman wishing for wings too large a lump to pass for birth. Upset by wishing hard enough. She will cast off the balance, and the swallows will politely accept her waving arm as we, and she will join in with them. And she will rise up with them. And she will
I think he gets little ideas that go round and round his head, and then he builds on them. And he puts layers on. I suppose his stuff has to do with different colours and different textures. We both make a fuss about it when we have to start.
It's a piece called Fridge, but it's kind of like I'm trying to do like order out of chaos thing. Just sort of chuck myself in the deep end and just do an impossibly dense thing. I just nose about. I mean, I watch animals nosing about, you know, in the leaves and so on. You know, you see hedgehogs and dogs. You see them all at it, and they're not, you know, they're not sort of working to a career plan. They're just sort of following their nose, really. I think that if something's organic and going in the right direction, it will have a form that you'll feel by instinct, and that's what I meant by an animal thing. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to. I want to do this. And what's the other thing? You know, like I really learnt from what I learnt from painters. I'd never really learnt from the very self-conscious attempts at breaking down form and creating new forms in music. Is that these sort of things in music, of these like chord structures or concertos or symphonies or this form, in tune, out of tune, in tempo, out of tempo, they don't seem to apply to painting, and I get much more sense of what you are allowed to make shapes out of in sound from painters.
He wants to find something in music. He wants certain feelings from music, and he finds them in the things that turn strange corners. You know, his music is never very elaborate, or at least the presentation of it is, here's something very simple. It's only when you listen you realize that it's actually quite structured. There's a lot going on within the fabric of the music, and yet it's presented very simply. It's presented as somebody speaking to themselves or to you personally.
I really like absolute, just straight pop music. I think it's very hard to make good pop records. I wouldn't know how to do it. They have to take a lot of battering, a pop song. I mean, you can play lots of stuff that's very clever, but you have to be able to play it 4 times a day on radio to millions of people. That's quite extraordinary. I could never do that, but I admire pop music a lot, and it's as influential on me as anything else. The structure of my songs is still never departs very far from Buddy Holly, actually. I've got a Buddy Holly song up here. The sun is out, the sky is blue, there's not a cloud to spoil the view, but it's raining, raining in my heart. The weatherman says clear today, he doesn't know you've gone away, and it's raining, raining in my heart. I just think that's so beautiful. Oh.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else but not for me. Love was out to get me, that's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams.
It was a sort of reactionary thing because it was an antidote to the kind of very hierarchical structure of the official arts, of fine arts. You know, who's great, who isn't, just like undermining all that. But it was also good fun. It was also a statement, which is I like pop music, and it doesn't even have to be hit pop music. It can be the kind of pop music that is just considered absolutely ephemeral. Maybe and the Monkeys singing in Neil Diamond's song is about as meaningless as it gets, I suppose.
When I needed sunshine and not rain,
on Top of the Pops twice, and after the first one, the producer came to see us. He said, look, we want you out of the wheelchair and in one of these sort of wicker things. I thought, it's a real bore. I mean, you have to need a... I can't just get out from one chair into another. So I said, well, why? You know, and he said, well, this is a family programme, you know, sort of things like wheelchairs in it. And I suddenly, having never thought about it before, became a militant disabled activist in about 2 seconds. And all kind of anger that I had no idea was in me flew at this bloke. And I went on and did it and mined this record grimly. And I obviously was very, very rude to him, because he said at the end of it, you'll never work on this programme again. And I thought, oh, like I'm supposed to fucking care. The world's full of wonderful, kind people, and not famous ones necessarily, but full of them. And yet, it is consistently and everywhere run by bastards. It really, I don't understand it. It seems to me a real flaw in the whole evolution of humans.
Is it worth it? A new winter coat and shoes for the wife, and a bicycle on the boy's birthday. It's just a rumour that was spread around town by the women and children. Soon we'll be shipbuilding. Well, I ask you, the boy said that they're going to take me to task, but I'll be back by Christmas. It's just a rumour that was spread around town. Somebody said that someone got filled in for saying that people get killed in the result of the shipbuilding. With all the will in the world, diving for dear life, when we could be diving for pearl.
I found myself pushed further and further to the left, because I found that when push came to shove, the liberal Christians, amongst whom I previously been quite happy, were incredibly cowardly in the face of the brutal realities of racism and economic unfairness and so on. And I went through various things of sort of thinking, well, I want to be an anarchist, you know, no government, you know, all that stuff. And then these fiery Trotskyist newspapers, but I found them so... Trotskyism was a bit too like rock and roll in a way, sort of young men shouting at you all the time. I thought, no, that's not the answer. And then I found this rather more sedate, anachronistic bunch of people who I really, really liked. And I joined the Communist Party and was a member for about 10 years. And I used to listen to Radio Moscow, which I really liked, because, I mean, BBC World Service pretends to be neutral, but in fact they had a ban on anything that was pro-Irish Republican, and they had a ban on being rude about Indonesia. So I like the fact that, you know, with Radio Moscow, you knew exactly what they were saying, why they were saying it. It was overtly propaganda, and that I liked that. I found that honest.
The windows change, sweeping across the African continent. Over there they say this, oh yeah, Africa, oh yeah.
I think part of joining the Communist Party was wanting the conversation to remain open, and kind of deliberately being slightly provocative by choosing that particular way of doing it. It was so unfashionable, actually, to join the Communist Party. There was such an opposition to people showing compassion towards the people at the bottom end of society, the people who actually made all the things that we eat and drive in and so on. And I really respect Robert for saying, well, I still care about them. and I'm not afraid to say so.
Obviously, yes, it gets to him. It hurts him. I mean, he goes around in pain after David Blunkett says the wrong sentence. He's in pain for a whole day on behalf of the people who are going to suffer because of that sentence. And he has a skin missing.
He's sensitive in the proper and original meaning of that. He senses a lot of things. That translates into a sort of a generosity of nature, I think. He's aware of the value of a lot of different people's positions. He's very mind-opening from that point of view, I think. A total non-politician, actually, because he's completely non-ideological. It's as if he reacts to each situation quite freshly.
So it's just start this. This little intro, it's like vocal, kind of like you think I'm joking? That's actually what the vocals would be like. Faith may not be such a bad thing. Hope can still feel pretty good. And I'm as mad as any hatter. I feel safer touching wood. It's a song for Richard Dawkins. I just like him, and I wanted to do him a song. I really sort of feel for Richard Dawkins, because people sort of attack him like he's got no soul. He just thinks the world's mechanical, da-da-da. And he doesn't. He's awestruck by it. In fact, he's so awestruck by it, he doesn't presume that something like us is running it. He thinks it's even more mysterious than that. All beliefs are cult religions. All believers slightly mad. All religions partly balmy. All religions just a bit mad. Just a bit mad. Transcendental arts, religion. I had to get art in as well, because I know that's the same silly thing. Thinking you'll improve your mind, when all it does, if you're in luck, is camouflage the daily grind.
It seems to me that he's dealt with the accident, a major event in his life. Where do you think that's come from, his ability to deal with a calamity of that kind, which would have destroyed many people?
Because he lives in his head, he lives in this dream. So it isn't so important for him to be able to get up and go there, because he just imagines it instead. I've hardly ever heard him, when he's been miserable, when he's been depressed, it's never been about being in a wheelchair. It's always been about work or different kinds of anxieties or worries about the world. So I don't know how he does it. Well, I mean, it seems to me to be terribly brave, but I don't know, I can't imagine being him. It's not feasible, really. I don't know. I'd have gone completely crazy.
I mean, I would put him in the top 5, actually, in my top 5. In fact, since I can't think of who else I would put there, I better put him in the top 2. Until I think of 3 others.
Given free will, but within certain limitations, I cannot will myself to limitless mutations. I cannot know what I would be if I were not me. I can only guess me. So when I say that I know me, What kind of spider understands arachnophobia? I have my senses and my sense of having senses. Do I guide them or they me? The weight of dust exceeds the weight of settled objects. What can it mean, such gravity without a center? What can it mean, such gravity without a center? Is there freedom to unbe? Is there freedom from will to be? Soldiers without a bow. In the air, but not the air, be in the nowhere. Be in the air, but not the air, be in the nowhere. Be on the loose, neither compacted nor suspended, neither born nor left to die. Had I been free, I could have chosen not to be. Demented forces push me madly round the treadmill. Demented forces push me madly round the treadmill. Let me off, please. I am so tired. Let me off, please. I am so very tired.
What future for the mobile phone companies who staked everything on a rush for third-generation phones that's been more like a trickle? Upwardly Mobile, next.